Oversight Committee to order. It's July 17th, 2020. And first item on the agenda is to do the roll call. Carol?
Yes, Lorraine Koss. Charles Venuto.
Present.
John Lusnar. Vinnie Taranto. John Windsor.
Here.
Terry Casto.
Here.
David Lane.
Here.
Laura Lee Thompson. Stephanie Ely. Melissa Martin.
Here.
I'm here. Courtney Barker. Todd Swingle.
Here.
Jay Moynihan.
Here.
And Dennis Basile.
Hey, Carol, real quick.
Yes.
I did notice some of the names that you called, they are logged in as panelists, but I think their mic may have been muted, like Lorraine Koss, Benny.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
And for some reason, I had a hard time getting sound earlier, so I had to do the headphones.
Okay. Yes, I can see them here too. We have a quorum.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to remind everybody to either mute or unmute yourself as appropriate when you want to speak. Are there any additions to the agenda? Any changes to the agenda? If not, we'll go ahead and call for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody opposed, say no.
John, if I may, just,
yes,
this is the first time we've had a time certain. So Senator Mayfield communicated that she should be able to join us at 10:30. So that's why I set that as a 10:30 time certain. So I thought we could just, progress down the agenda, skipping her until it gets to be 10:30 and she's with us, and then, take that one at that time.
Sounds great. Thank you, Virginia. Okay, minutes. Any approval of the minutes, please? A motion?
Motion to approve.
And I'll second Stephanie.
Okay, anybody in opposition to approving the minutes? I see none, so we'll move on then with progress and fiscal reports, and we turn that over to Virginia. Virginia, you're muted, I think.
There you go.
And I'm going to try to share screen so we can see. All right, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. So last month, the big thing was adjusting our revenues projections down due to COVID-19. We've had 2 months of income since that early projection was done, and the revenues are coming in higher than what we projected. So on the revenue graph that's next on the agenda, you'll see a revised revenue dot that is about 4.4 million down for this year instead of 10 million down. In the fiscal year 2021 legislative appropriations approved by the governor, there was $1 million approved for septic to sewer for Brevard County. There are a number of other projects that I assume the senator will review, totaling over $5 million of water quality projects for the county and cities here for the Lagoon. So compared to the $500,000 last year, that's a tenfold increase we're very pleased about. The retail fertilizer signs, those were redesigned based on feedback that we got from focus groups. And then we printed and delivered them to the businesses selling fertilizer. They should have all been posted before the beginning of the summer ban on nitrogen. And we have a volunteer who is working for us, who's going out and inspecting all of those facilities making sure that those signs really are posted, and then we will coordinate with those businesses who have not posted them in compliance with the ordinance.
In Virginia?
Yes.
She just finished last night, and we had 8 businesses out of the 53 that were not compliant. So we will coordinate to contact them.
Great.
And what does that mean? They were non-compliant?
They didn't have the signs posted at all.
But they were given the signs,
Yeah.
they just didn't have them posted? Okay.
Correct.
Right. They're supposed to be posted on the same aisle where the fertilizer is.
Yeah, there were a handful that didn't post them really correctly according to the ordinance, so they have them laying on a shelf or something. So we'll talk to those businesses as well, but they at least had them out.
Can you share those, or are they like some of the same type of businesses, same box stores?
It was a mixture. Some were, box stores. Some were private. Don't want to call anyone out in particular, but we'll get in touch with them. And,
not you wouldn't say it's systematic across.
No. No, it was only 8 that were, that we couldn't find any signs of.
Okay. The next bullet is our in-ground nitrogen reducing bioreactor drain fields that we're doing through an MOA with the Department of Health. When we wrote this, we had completed 2 of them. We've now completed a 3rd one. So those projects are going well. The 3rd one was much smoother than the first one. We're learning, but it's going well. The Broadway Pond bioactivated media project was completed. We have a couple other projects that are underway now, stormwater projects. The derelict vessels, those 2 additional vessels removed, those were the last 2 that have been cleared by law enforcement for us to be allowed to remove. So all other boats that you see out there, all other sunken vessels that you see out there in the lagoon are in that holding period, waiting for them to be processed by law enforcement to follow up with the owners and give them time to claim their vessel. So we're now waiting for that. The law enforcement had stopped clearing vessels, processing vehicles, vessels during the March, April timeframe of COVID. They have started return to processing those, but there was a delay. So that's the derelict vessel update.
Virginia, on the derelict vessels, I noticed that the governor vetoed the DEP request for funds for derelict vessel removal in that last minute round of vetoes he was going for. And I have a suspicion that's going to affect us long term, but I just thought everybody should know that that's been vetoed at the state level.
Virginia, what do you have any idea how they prioritize, or maybe that's not the right word, but put on the list derelict vessels to be removed? I mean, is it like first come, first serve in terms of hearing reports of them, or how does it, do you have any idea?
Yeah, so they get reported either directly to law enforcement or through our office. And then there is a lengthy process of they have to go inspect the vessel, make sure it really is derelict. They have to try to get the FL numbers to identify who the vessel belongs to, track down the owner, communicate with the owner, provide the owner, I believe it's 6 months to, hire a company to raise their vessel off the bottom. So, it's that process that takes so much time. And then once that time frame has gone by and the owner has not claimed their vessel, that's when it goes on our list as something that we are allowed to remove.
Yeah, I see.
And if we know who the owner is, there's a lien placed so that we can try to get the funding back for the cost of the removal.
So it's really just a matter of how fast any particular vessel gets through the process is when it goes on the list.
Correct.
Do we actually ever recover? Are the liens placed on the derelict vessel itself, or are they some kind of judgment against the owner and can be on other property? I'm not exactly sure how it works, but they cannot renew, in theory, they cannot renew their driver's license until they pay that. So we should be collecting funds, and we do get checks every now and then. I think people are pretty good at getting around the system. Yeah, it's a nice way to put it. Okay.
Yeah.
Virginia, are there any general or specific permits that have to be obtained prior to removing a vessel? And do you have to put any controls in place, like a oil or petroleum boom?
So one of the early steps is that if there is fuel and risk of a leak, then they will often send the Coast Guard out to pump the fuels or remove any fuels or oil off the boat, so that that's not out there for the whole 6 months, waiting through this process. And then, yes, they do have to, put booms. They have to avoid doing seagrass damage as they're pulling these boats out of the mud. But it's not a perfect. It would be much better if people didn't allow their vessels to sink.
And are they reported then to the National Response Center when there is a detection of a leak?
I would guess so, because that's not us, right? That's the state and the Coast Guard.
Sounds like there's a fair number of questions around the derelict vessels. Maybe at some point in the future, somebody, maybe Matt could come by, or somebody could come by and talk about derelict vessels. Okay.
Yeah, Matt Culver knows all the answers. I do not. So the Marine Resources Council completed 2 of the living shoreline projects that were approved in the plan. The University of Central Florida monitored a planted shoreline and 3 oyster bar sites, and they're out monitoring again today, so we'll have more data. We were very excited about the results they found at Maritime Hammock and the Hog Point sites, where we've had tremendous recruitment that has led to a 400% increase in the number of live oysters there since deployment. The zoo continues to monitor oyster sites that were constructed prior to the Save Our Lagoon funding. My Lagoon story videos, we believe we've filmed all of you. And so we're looking forward to sharing a few more of those today. Project videos, the new production, 142 Productions, they've been really hard at work with us for the last couple months through COVID, following safe distancing and mask wearing, whatever, producing videos. So we have quite a bit to share with you. And we've executed a number of contracts, both the ones listed here as completed and a bunch more below is underway. And the one I wanted to note is the Aqua Fiber demonstration project, where we're going to be testing that technology to filter the algae and nutrients out of lagoon water. It's going to be at the end of the Merritt Island Airport. And we had hoped to do a tour, to organize a tour for the COC, but given COVID and the size of the trailer, it's just not smart to try to do that. So we're going to try to set up some sort of, we'll definitely do a video, but we may try to do some sort of, Facebook Live or some sort of live video that will allow you all to participate. It depends on whether we can figure out how to do that and set up the public meeting notice adequately, in time for this. So they're expecting to run that demonstration project August 10th to 21st. So we're looking forward to those results. And then under work underway this month, I'll just highlight a few other things. The Cone Road septic to sewer, those connections continue to come in. So while this says 34 properties connected, I know we've had several more connect this week since this update was put together. And the septic upgrade postcards, we mailed postcards to all 1,625 of the highest priority septic upgrade sites in the county. We have updated those postcards and are working on sending them out a second time. So of those 1,625, 105 people have responded and received applications for the funding to reimburse them for upgrades. We've received one reimbursement package where the work has actually been completed already. So that's going well, and we're getting better at figuring out how to answer all the phone calls and track the paperwork and move those projects along. The Basin 1304 stormwater treatment, that started this week, started on Monday. And the company, Cathcart, is adding a second crew. So the second crew will be starting the next project that's in Sea Park next week. And so we should see those stormwater projects moving quicker now with two crews on the construction. And Grand Canal muck dredging. The dredging is now scheduled to restart in August. They've mobilized all their equipment back to the DMMA, and so we're looking forward to getting that back underway. And I think that was all I wanted to highlight on that side of the progress report. Are there questions?
John, I've got a couple of questions and comments. Virginia, I was pleasantly surprised, I guess you might say, to see the revenue projections coming in so much lower than we originally thought. Why? Well, I guess you don't know why they seem to come in lower, but just as a comment, I think seeing what the June and July numbers look like is going to be pretty instructive. It's hard to believe that we're going to be that close to our original projections just based on everything that's going on.
It was hard for me to believe that the last collection actually, we're still between the two lines of our projection and the state's higher projection.
Yeah, I know.
Tourism is seeing pretty good numbers of occupancy in their beds. So I know last month's occupancy was only 36% down, and they had they were full. All the beach hotels were full for 4th of July weekend. So.
Well, I understand that. And we've had this, hand in hand with sort of reopening things. Now we're having kind of a surge in cases. So, well, we'll see. Anyway, let's hope it hangs in there. The money that was approved, this $1 million legislative appropriation, as well as some of the funding that Senator Mayfield mentioned in her minutes, how much of that are those funds that are all going to be used as matching funds for some of the projects that we've already approved? or are they going to be independent projects?
The $1 million is specific to 5 septic to sewer projects that are already approved in the plan. I'm setting up a meeting. We're going back and forth trying to find a date and time with Representative Randy Fine on his $2.2 million to see, how much, if any, of that can go towards projects that are already identified in the plan, or whether he has other projects in mind. The municipal projects, I have not talked to the cities directly on each of those appropriations to know whether they need all of that full amount for their cost share, or whether any of that would reduce the cost share for the Lagoon plan. We still need to have those conversations.
That was really where I was going with my question, is whether this means that it frees up some of our money. And lastly, the My Lagoon story videos, when all of those have been done, where are they going to appear in the public media?
I'm gonna let Brandon reply. The county has just redone the layout of its entire website, and Brandon has headed that up for us. So, okay. Brandon.
Yeah, so we have them. We'll post them both on the website with links to the website, links to YouTube, and then we'll post them on social media as well. But we're spacing them out so that we're not just loading them all up at once, and that way we have a little build up on social media, and it's content to share as we go along. So we don't want them all on at one time.
So they'll be under the Citizens Oversight Committee, part of the DNR site?
There's a videos section actually on the Safer Lagoon site. And there's a specific, if you click on the videos, it breaks it down into our monthly meetings, our project videos, and then the My Lagoon story. Okay. So they have their own separate page on there.
But I haven't looked for a while, Brandon, but the last time I tried to find them, they weren't on there yet. Was I correct in not finding them, or did I just mess up?
They're on there, yeah. We have some on there. I'm not sure how many we have up there right now, but yeah, there's a handful, and we're putting, as we release the new ones, we'll put those on there as well.
All right. I just look a little harder.
Yeah. It's a little easier to find now, I think, with the new format. So you should see a little video section on the side, and when you click it, there'll be a breakdown, and it should be My Lagoon story.
Thank you.
John, I had 2 questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't see any hands being raised, but I'm not, I'm not listed as a host today. So just go ahead when you have a question, just go ahead and pipe up.
Okay, thank you. Virginia, just 2 questions. One of them is on the experimental BAM sewer stuff. How are we reporting that to the state, or are we yet? Because I know that they were working with us to see the results, right?
Right. We have an approved quality assurance monitoring plan. And so we have installed lysimeters, and I don't know if Anthony or Matt want to jump in here, but we have a very extensive monitoring plan that the state has approved. We're going to be collecting those samples and sending them to a NELAP certified lab for analysis, and sharing that data with the state as it comes in.
Okay, cool. And then the second one was with the septic upgrades, with 1,600 and only 100 coming back. And I know communication with a group of people is always something that's a give and take, and you go back to the lab and you rewrite it and rework it. But I just wonder what some of those people are, what their hang up is, or what their issue is. So I don't know. I know you said you're working on the cards again. If there's an opportunity to reach out to some of these people and just say, why aren't you upgrading? And because maybe there's some simple thing that we could do, or that we need to change to get them. I mean, it's kind of like free money and you're saving the lagoon. So it's kind of hard to think why somebody wouldn't want to do it.
Would it be possible for us to get a copy of the postcard? What went out? Just curious.
Yes, I provided a copy of the previous postcard, but we can provide a copy of the new one. The first one, some of the comments that we got back was it was too slick, it was too pretty, it looked too much like advertising marketing. So this one's got more government logo-ease and stuff on it, trying to make it look more official. But at the same time, you know, it's got to be colorful enough that people look at it in the mailbox. And of course, you know, we only have their names and addresses. We don't have emails. We don't have phone numbers. We don't have other contact information for these people. So it's a matter of trying to figure out how to get them to look at their mail. And so I'm not sure how we would find out why they're not interested, besides sending them a paper survey.
Which, if they didn't see the card or call for free money, what are the chances they're going to fill out a survey? Right. Maybe, you know, and obviously with COVID, it's different times, but maybe, you know, in the future, if things die down, if we go, you know, find a neighborhood and go door to door and just knock. But I understand that's time consuming, and the fact we're getting out there is great. So thank you.
All right, are we ready for page 2?
I think you're ready.
Okay, so presentations this month. I mean, even though we're social distancing, there's been a lot going on, and so Captain Ross was good enough to have me back on his Catch a Memory fishing show, the radio interview, and Laura Lee Thompson did a brown bag seminar for the Marine Resources Council. The TPO, the Transportation Planning Organization, the 3 different committees have considered the causeway versus bridge span conversation. The Technical Advisory Committee and the Citizens Advisory Committee both recommended moving forward with the causeway as designed. The full committee has tabled the item for their next meeting, asking for more information about the value of the nutrient reduction resulting from going from causeway to bridge span, and, you know, asking some more questions. And Lorraine, is there anything you would like to add to that, since you're...
Yeah, no, I think the conversation, the discussion, and we ended up not having a quorum in the end, and that's why it was tabled, because no vote could be taken. But the discussion moved to what level of resiliency do we have in addition to the water quality enhancements? And just, you know, if you've seen any of the more recent, the monitoring data that has come out, and the increase in flooding areas, I think there's just concern, more concern at looking at what the benefits of a raised bridge could mean, how much more resilient we could be as a result, in addition to the water quality improvements.
But there were 2 subgroups that voted against that?
Yes. I would have to say that there were a number of folks, because of the delays, it does represent a major delay to go. It's almost like starting over. They were looking at dollars that could be channeled elsewhere for water quality improvement. But I think the body that tabled it started to consider the resiliency aspects.
And it's been, so far, the discussion has been sort of 2 extremes. Move forward exactly as designed, or stop all of that and start over and go to bridge spans. And there hasn't been any exploration of whether there's some middle ground, whether there's some way to do some partial raising or some large culverts, something else that would increase circulation and increase resiliency without causing the whole project to have to go back to square one and start the NEPA environmental compliance review, all over.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just say that Commissioner Lober was the one that brought this up, and I think he made some very convincing arguments that caused the rest of the committee to consider going with, to really consider this before accepting the other committee's recommendations.
Okay. Other presentations this month. I'm doing a presentation at the Florida Permitting School next week, and Lead Brevard Facebook Live presentation, which I'm looking forward to. I'm sure Vinny will be involved in that too. And I think that's it for the progress report.
Okay, we're going to move on then to the financial.
Yeah. So you see the graphs, and we were talking about this earlier, but you can see that our purple line of actual revenues here at 153 million is still higher than the projection in our adopted plan, and lower than the state's original, pre-COVID projection. And then the orange star over here on the right-hand side is our most recently revised projection in our proposed budget for next year. The county's proposed budget, we had to estimate, how much revenue we would collect this year that would roll forward into next year, in addition to having to project next year's revenue collections. So we'll just, each month by month, we will see where we end up.
That orange star kind of looks like a COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's by design.
Got it.
Crystal got extra credit for that.
So, Virginia, this is not going to require us at this point to make any adjustments in our plan. Is that correct?
Correct. We have adequate revenue to cover all of the projects that were supposed to commence, up through this year, through next year, and even with our downwardly revised projections, we would have enough cash to cover the projects that were scheduled for the following year, so 2 years out. Obviously, we don't know where COVID is going to take our economy, and so we'll have to continue to look at that month by month. But at this point, we don't need to make any urgent changes. Certainly, as we move into the 2021 plan update, we will need to amend our revenue projections, since that's a 10-year plan for, all of the money. We'll need to update our 10-year revenue projections and see what sort of adjustments we need to make. At this point, we're looking at, being down $8 to $10 million over the course of the 10 years. And there was $6 million unallocated, and we have a few million here in grants. So it may all sort of, work out where we really see very, very little adjustment needed.
Thank you.
So if there are no questions on this, I'll try to figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Yeah. So Chairman Windsor, if we want to skip over agenda item 6A and come back to the Senator's item when she's available to join us and move on to Missy Weiss.
Okay, we're all set for Missy Weiss.
Hi, guys. Good to see y'all. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, Missy.
Okay, perfect. So I do have a presentation I'd like to share with you. So let me go ahead and do that. Uh-oh. Sorry.
While Missy is bringing that up, I've gotten designated as co-host, so I can answer. I can undo your raised hands. So let's go back to raising a hand when you want a question. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I think this is the third time I've presented this project to you guys, and so I'm sure you're all just sick of me at this point. But I am very happy to be back to give you some updates on a day in the life of the Indian River Lagoon and let you know where we are. So I think the most important thing to mention at this point in time is that a day in the life has been completely absorbed by ORCA, so Ocean Research and Conservation Association. So ORCA has absorbed this project, and it's now one of our 5 citizen science projects that we offer to the community surrounding the Indian River Lagoon. And so I accepted a position about 1.5 years ago as their Director of Citizen Science and Education, and it just seemed like a really natural fit to bring the program over to such a great organization. So if you are unfamiliar with the project, although there are many familiar faces on the panel right now that I know are familiar, I will do that now. So essentially, A Day in the Life of the Indian River Lagoon is an experiential research program. It's a citizen science project, and it's a community-based program. It's an opportunity on a single day in the fall, generally in the first week of October, where schools, so students and teachers, partner with local environmental organizations. They go out to their specific sampling site along the lagoon, and they're all collecting the same scientific information. And so this is spanning from Volusia County all the way down to Jupiter Inlet. And so what that does is it provides a little snapshot in time of what those specific sampling sites, what the lagoon is looking like at that moment in time, so that the organizations and the groups have a little snapshot or a little glimpse of what their location is looking like compared to the entire lagoon system. The data is available and accessible. The first year's data, which was 2018, is held on See a Difference's website. It's I'll show you a snippet of that in a couple minutes. And then 2019 and all the data moving forward will be held on ORCA's Citizen Science website, which is in development. So the objectives of A Day in the Life are numerous. The first is really to just develop an appreciation and overall knowledge of the lagoon to better understand its environmental health and the environmental stressors that that are having on the lagoon. Allow students to become student scientists and to connect Floridians with nature, because in many instances, A Day in the Life is the first opportunity or chance for these students to even step foot in the lagoon, let alone collect scientific information for a real study. And so allowing that opportunity is huge. We also are preparing our students consequently to become better stewards of the lagoon and all of our natural resources. It's an opportunity for students to engage with our local experts. And so by partnering with these local environmental organizations, the students are learning what they could be, who they could be in the future if they were to pursue an environmental degree, which is important, having that personal interaction. And then more than anything, really, to me, it's about being something larger than themselves, larger than their schools, larger than their counties. It's being a part of something that is collaborative in nature and science-driven. So those are our objectives for A Day in the Life. If you're unfamiliar, the way that the day is structured is that usually the students are broken up into 5 groups. So the first group is collecting biological information. They're collecting surveys of what organisms are found in and around the lagoon, generally through seining or observational. They are measuring overall biodiversity. The second group is looking at physical data or information. So they're determining weather patterns. They're looking at tides, currents, physical information about their sampling site. The next group is looking at basic water quality. So they are using Lamont water quality kits to look at pH, dissolved oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, fecal, if they choose to, as well as temperature and salinity. The fourth group is looking really well at their sites. So they're doing mapping of their sites, but they're assessing what bottom type they have. They're doing sediment cores and dissecting those sediment cores and trying to really better understand what their sampling site looks like compared to others. The fifth is a unique component to the project in that it's documenting. It's allowing students who may not necessarily have a science interest to still participate. And so they are taking documentaries, they're making videos, they're recording the day visually so that others can experience what a day in the life is like. They're interviewing their environmental experts, each other, their teachers, and to try to better understand the importance of the day. There's also this underlying sixth group, which is where I like to incorporate outside citizen science projects and to also allow our environmental partners a chance to teach the students what they do in their own organizations for the lagoon. And so for 2018, our first year students helped collect water that were then used to look at eDNA samples for bull shark research. That was in conjunction with a professor from FIT. And then last year, we asked our partners to take a glyphosate sample for orca, and then we assessed each of those sites, and I'll show that information in a second. So just some basic facts and figures to let you know where we're at. So the first year, truthfully, nobody really knew who I was, who the organization was. We were lucky to have 35 environmental partners participate, 34 schools, and 1,800 participants that first year. So incredible for the first year getting those students involved. The next year, we increased those numbers. So we had 40 environmental partners, 15 being from Brevard County, 38 schools, 14 from Brevard County, and about 1,700 participants. So a nice, good representation of the lagoon. But of course, knowing moving forward, we know that we need to fill some of those gaps and those pockets along the lagoon. The next 2020, well, who knows, right? It's with COVID and the pandemic, it has certainly added a twist. I'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of the slide or the end of the presentation, but really what it comes down to is that nobody really knows what's happening. And the amount of stress that the teachers and our schools are experiencing right now, we're going to try to figure out an alternative, and I'll share that in a moment. So I mentioned that once the information is collected, that data is accessible. And so this is a snapshot of what the information looks like for our 2018. So what you would do is you would visit seeadifference.org and you would click on one of those sampling sites. When you do so, it shows you who sampled it, who was responsible for it, what environmental partner worked with that school, and then some just very basic water quality information for quick comparative purposes. You could also access the entire data sheet. So let's say there was a student in your class who is really interested in biodiversity or the presence or absence of seahorses in the area. They could then go through each of those complete data sets to find that information. And so I wanted to just show you two graphs or two images that a local student put together. The first one, you'll notice there's no standard deviations. It's just the raw information, and because he hasn't learned it yet. But I just wanted to show it because it's something that he had a question and then he answered it using the information from a day in the life. And so what this data is looking at is average biodiversity according to county for 2019. I think just visually looking at it quickly, you can see that obviously Palm Beach and Martin County, they were combined because of the number of sampling sites, had the greatest amount of biodiversity, with Indian River County being the second highest and Brevard being the lowest. So just some interesting information that he put together using a day in the life's information. The next one is showing you salinity. And again, this is 2019 using our partners. What you see on the bottom are all the sampling sites going from the most northern location down to the southernmost with this Jupiter Inlet. And despite a little bit of this hairiness going on in the northern region, and I really chalk a lot of that up to being not having enough sampling locations there, you see that as you approach the inlets, which are designated by these vertical lines, the salinity goes up. As you move away from those inlets, it goes down. It goes up as you approach the inlet, and so on. And so just seeing that information for a student, it kind of justifies what they're learning in the textbook, that as you move away from a source of high saline water, an inlet, the salinity potentially would go down. So I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to share that as well. The glyphosate information, I'm sure most of you are interested in that. I also want to share that. So again, we asked our partners to each collect a scintillation vial of water column water, a sample for us, immediately freeze it until we could get it. And then we were able to analyze that for overall glyphosate. And so we had 32 water samples submitted. The most interesting about this is that every single one of them came back with a presence of glyphosate, but at very low levels. And so there wasn't one single location that was very striking, but what it does tell us is that in October, on that day, all of those locations had very low levels of glyphosate. So what's that dilution happening in the lagoon? And so again, that was provided by our student scientists. So moving forward to this year, and nobody, even our partners, have not heard this change yet, but it was originally scheduled for October 8th. Most of those districts are indicating, or counties are indicating, that there will be no field trips for the first 9 weeks. Well, October 8th is the last week of that 9-week period. And so there would be no way that our schools could participate due to COVID. And so we have pushed A Day in the Life back to October 24th, and we are going to be doing it on a Saturday. And so the hope is that we can still continue this project. We didn't want to cancel it because of the importance of having that longitudinal data set, which is really the purpose of A Day in the Life. We want to increase our spatial sampling as well. And so we're going to try it the Saturday, hoping that some of our school partners will still be able to participate, that hopefully some of our environmental partners would be willing to provide Saturday of their time. But we're also extending the invitation for families, businesses, and other organizations to step up and be a part of this project as well. And so either fill in some of the gaps where our schools can't do so, or sample new locations. And so I'm going to be providing a webinar for anyone who is interested in participating on August 5th at 5 o'clock. You can register through orca.org. And for those returning partners, my amazing partners, in late August, to just get everybody on board. There's been some updates. We've updated the teacher manual to make it a little bit more user-friendly and streamlined it. We provided an ability for teachers to submit their data electronically now, and also to relay the message that we weren't able to supply water quality kits this year. I wasn't able to provide the funding, and so it's going to be up to either a sponsor or a donator or the schools or organizations to provide those kits. And so that's an important piece of this puzzle as well. And then the final addition is that before COVID, I'd reached out to all our partners, just asking them, hey, would anybody like to do A Day in the Life more regularly? So seasonal sampling, really to make this more of a true citizen science project, much like many of Orca's other projects. And I got some really great feedback and a lot of yeses. And so we will provide this opportunity to those partners as well if they would like to monitor their sampling site 4 times a year to see and account for some of those seasonal changes. So that would be October, January, April, and June. And so that is just a quick snapshot glimpse of where A Day in the Life is as of right now. But I always end every presentation with the same quote, and I'll do that today as well. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing it ever has. And it's going to take opportunities like this to motivate and inspire our students. So with that, I would love to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Missy. I've got a bunch of hands raised. So let's start with David Lane.
Sure.
Hi, Missy. Hey, thank you. Great presentation. There may be people listening or watching that aren't familiar with what glyphosate is. And I guess a bigger question is, are you restricted from mentioning brand names regarding that word, or how do you get that? How do you address that to the public?
Generally for me, I say that glyphosate is a common herbicide that's generally found in Roundup. So it's not a lie, it's not a falsity, it's that's a fact. So that's generally how I express that information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on the list, we got Stephanie.
Yes, I wanted to know the approximate cost of one of the kits.
So they range in price. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them on Fisher's website, but they ranged about $55 is the average. And I generally like to provide one kit to each school. It's the one thing that I usually like to do that's standardized amongst everybody. Everyone's using the same information. So it's about 55.
Okay. Next is Charlie Venuto, and you have to unmute Charlie. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, hey, Missy, thanks. We do enjoy having you come, and like you said, it's the third time, and we hope to see you back as the project continues. So I know this is probably a little bit above what the students could do, and maybe the data exists, but when you showed the salinity chart, I was kind of curious about a correlation with biodiversity, and the salinity, because it's almost like a sub-ecotone. I mean, the lagoon's an ecotone by itself, and then you have these pockets where the salinity difference are pretty.
Actually, we looked at that particular student did look at that. He graphed biodiversity and salinity to see if there was a relationship for 2019, and in that graph, it didn't appear to have that statistical significance to illustrate that to you guys today. However, I will say that last year was a unique year where Brevard County was poured on, while other counties, it was beautiful and sunny, typical Florida weather. And so some of that data was affected because of that weather. And so again, this is why these long-term data sets are so important, so we can get that information that we're looking for. So I'm thinking that as we move forward and we fill in some of those gaps along the lagoon, we may start seeing some of those relationships that you're alluding to.
Yeah, and my second question is the overlap of your sampling sites with other organizations, whether government or MRC, in kind of comparing that data both from like a quality control as well as any trends.
It's a great idea and a great suggestion, and I would be completely open to that. I would hope that our partners, our environmental partners, would express that interest if they do have that, because I'm certainly open to that. And we work with MRC and St. John's Water Management and a lot of those organizations that do monitor. So it would be a good idea. And we are working on our quality assurance right now as we speak. Okay.
Vinny, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thanks, John. Hi, Missy. I just love the education, because that education is always compound that we get on the dollars spent. And so I saw that you said you're moving the date next year or this year to October. Is there any opportunity or anyone looking into doing anything remote? And the only reason I say that is because I know before, I think last year when you came, we talked about bus availability and being able to move people. And I just think maybe this would be an opportunity to build an online day or an online portion of that day. And that way next year or seasonally, whenever it comes around, for those schools or those people that can't participate, there could be an online one. And maybe it would be, crunching data numbers or given numbers, and then let's go ahead and go over this chart. I don't know, maybe there's an opportunity to remove the physical location requirement from a day. Not have the physical requirement, still have the physical requirement, but add a supplemental online only version. I think to me that might allow other people to get more involved and increase your audience.
I think that's a great suggestion, and I would love to be able to talk to you a little bit more about that offline. We absolutely need the physical component. I mean, that is really the essence of what a day in the life is. But there's always been this idea of knowing that this is just a day and so much more can be built off of this curriculum that could come and evolve from a day in the life's physical collection is immense. And so I do like that idea of a virtual component, something that Orca is working on and will be doing in 2021 is a data jam. And so we'll be kind of doing a little bit of what you're saying and hopefully incorporating some of the data from a day in the life or other Orca information. But I like what you're saying, and I'd like to continue it offline.
Sure, yeah, let me know.
Well.
Okay. Terry?
Hi, good morning, Missy. Great presentation. I just want to follow up on a couple of things, and maybe the simplest thing is if you could shoot to Virginia some more details on your sampling kit. MRC does the Lagoon Watch, and we have the same issue with being able to supply kits to our volunteers. And I want to follow up on the great idea was in my mind as well, to see that we're getting the most out of the data partnership across the organizations. So I'll be bringing that up with the MRC board. And I guess the final thing would be, Orca has the Kilroys, Harbor Branch has the, whatever they're called, Lobos. What are you finding with the citizens data vice what we're getting from the automated monitoring?
We're not sampling in the same locations, so we don't have that ability to compare. So I don't have that comparative information that you're looking for. The locations that most of the citizen scientists for Day in the Life are collecting are immediately offshore, or along the shoreline, I should say, whereas more of the Kilroys, or at least are more offshore or in locations that we wouldn't have citizen scientists necessarily sampling.
Okay.
But with MRC's information or other organizations, I would be happy to compare and contrast and see where we are for that quality control.
Okay, Laura Lee?
Thank you so much for doing this. I think it's incredible that you're involving the schools and the kids and people. Where do we send money to help you buy test kits?
Oh, that is so kind. So I think the best place that you could do that would be to go to Team Orca's website, and there is a donation tab that you can then fill out. And I believe that there's a note section, and you can put a Day in the Life test kit.
Okay, thank you.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Okay, Charlie?
Yeah, sorry, another question, and it's really more of an overarching statement, but I think what we've seen with COVID is that we're kind of fast forward to the future as far as online learning goes, and I think this is an opportunity that we should be able to take advantage of, that there's going to be more online learning. It was going to happen anyways, it's just that now it's happening now instead of in 2030. And so, Missy, what you sound like you're going to be doing and incorporating more online activities with a field component as well is really on the right track. And I just kind of applaud you for that. And we got to think a little bit differently now to accomplish the mission. So, got to keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay,
it takes a village.
Back to Laura Lee.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm done. I forgot to.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think that covers everybody. Terry, thanks very much. That was an awesome presentation. I mean, Missy, I'm sorry. Next on the agenda, we've got the Lagoon Loyal launch from MTN Advertising.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We've got a presentation to run through with you all. Let's see. Bear with me here. All right. Oh, can everybody see my screen? Should be a presentation that you can see?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm having a little...
Now not.
Oh, sorry, I'm having...
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna click through it this way. It's a little bit easier for me on my end with the screen sharing. So sorry about that. So good morning, everybody. My name is Jessica Payne. I'm an account manager with MTN Advertising in Satellite Beach. I've also got Jamie Guth on the line with me today. She's our art director at MTN. And on behalf of the entire MTN team in Brevard County, we're so excited to be here today to announce to you the full launch of the Lagoon Loyal Rewards program and website. So before we get into the features of the site and give you a tour, we're just going to take a brief moment to give you a quick recap of our findings and the performance of the pilot program that we've had in place for the past year. So just to refresh...
Sorry, yes. Jessica, is there a different view that you can click that would make your thing full screen? Because we're seeing your entire...
Oh, my notes and stuff?
Well, all the Adobe Acrobat search tools and.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. How about this?
There you
Is
go.
that better?
That's perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Virginia. I appreciate that. So just to refresh your memory, or for those that are not aware, the mission of Lagoon Loyal at its core and in its entirety is to educate and encourage Brevard County residents to commit to behaviors that benefit the health of the Indian River Lagoon. And with that, we're utilizing information and behaviors related to the topics that you can see on the screen here, anywhere from fertilizer, septic systems, grass clippings, all of those we've implemented and integrated through all aspects of the program. But before that we could implement that, we knew at the very beginning that program validation and research would be such an important step for us to take before we could move forward with any of this. It was critical that we knew that the community would adopt this program and own it and promote it within their communities as well. So we completed a series of 6 targeted focus groups with residents and business owners throughout the county, with the goal in mind of understanding perspectives and opinions about the footprint quiz and also the Let's Be Clear branding as part of our pilot program, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with at this point. These focus groups also helped us to address various barriers and benefits related to desired behaviors associated with each of those topics that I just shared on the previous screen. And by doing so, this also helped us to ensure that we're communicating effectively and also sharing accurate information that would resonate most with residents as it relates to those barriers and benefits. So starting in June of last year, MTN utilized a variety of tactics to educate the community about Lagoon Loyal and motivate them to take action and complete the footprint quiz. So with the footprint quiz completions being our measurable action to determine which tactic would prove to be the strongest in terms of cost per value, we found that social media proved to be the highest performing tactic, earning the most completed actions, which again, that was a completed footprint quiz. So it earned the most completed actions with a cost per conversion rate of just under $6, which we found is under a third of the standard industry rate for cost per conversion rates with advertising and social media. So we're really happy to see such a success in that tactic while still maintaining a lower cost there as well. We found that direct traffic came in a close second in terms of footprint quiz completions. But one other thing I do want to just mention about tactics here is that the ad networks piece was actually the strongest driver of overall traffic to the site. However, it resulted in the least number of completed actions, and this continues to be a key component of our digital strategy. And this is actually a common thing that we tend to see with ad networks, but it brings such a strong brand presence and such a strong driver of web traffic. So this was and remains today, as I said, a key component of our digital strategy in promoting the Lagoon Loyal program going forward. And based on those tactics that we deployed, these are just some stats that I wanted to share with you that we were able to accomplish in the past year prior to launching the program. So we had 55 businesses sign up for the Lagoon Loyal program, just over 1,500 footprint quiz completions, and 446 coupon downloads as a result of completing the footprint quiz and exchanging their points for a coupon at a local business. We had 13,435 unique website users on the website. And just a couple high points about the demographics that we found interesting. This really helps us to understand who our primary audience is and who is really interacting with our site the most on a day-to-day basis. So of those users on the website, over half of them were female, and half of them were between the 25 and 55 age group, with that 55 and over age group falling in a very close second. Excuse me, I'm stumbling over my words. In terms of devices that people were interacting with the site and taking the quiz, it was pretty much split down the middle between mobile and desktop. So that was an interesting piece to see as well. When we know that so many people are mobile driven today, it seems to be that desktop devices are still very, very prominent with our Lagoon Loyal concept. And then lastly, our social media following is growing every day. But in the last year, we were able to gain 646 Facebook followers and 356 followers on Instagram as well. So with that, after a successful validation of the pilot program, we're proud to announce that the Lagoon Loyal program and website launched on July 1st. So the website is actually designed to address multiple barriers that we believe Brevard County residents might experience related to adopting specific lagoon pollution prevention behaviors, and also prevents the benefits to each of those behaviors. And we took those 7 topics that I shared with you earlier in the presentation and broke them down into 17 different simple actions that residents and members of the program can complete. And then in return for points, we would reward them with a business coupon for a discount at a local business that has signed up to be part of the Lagoon Loyal program. So from here, I just want to pass it over to my colleague, Jamie, and she's going to give us a brief tour of the website. If you're ready to go, Jamie.
Yep, I am.
Okay.
Okay, if you can just click stop sharing. And hi guys, I'm Jamie. I work with MTN, and let's see. Share screen. Can you all see my screen okay?
Not yet.
Not yet. Here we go. Sorry, guys, I have to open up system preferences to undo my, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh no.
Amy, are you on Jessica's link? I don't see your name in the participant list. I see Jessica twice. So I just wonder if that's
an issue.
That's the problem. So Logan or Lois, do you know if there's a way? Could that be the problem?
Try changing her name. Hold on one second. Did that fix it?
Oh, I might have it. Yay! I am so sorry, guys. Okay, well, let me jump right to it and not waste any more time. So here's the new, you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, here's the new and improved lagoonloyal.com website. It has optimized educational content targeted to Brevard County residents about the 7 pollution reducing topics, fertilizers that Jessica went over. Each one of these topics has been broken down into actions that can be completable for points. We have an about section, why the Dune River Lagoon matters, what is Lagoon Loyal, how it works, participating businesses, maps, and their rewards. Resources for businesses, how they can become a Lagoon Loyal business, and resources about soil projects and updates, and other lagoon advocates and their efforts, and our fertilizer training video. So let's jump right into it and go to the good stuff and become Lagoon Loyal. I'm just going to walk you through the member portal section. This is where you can sign up to become Lagoon Loyal. We have a zip code feature here that tracks, you have to have a Brevard County zip code in order to sign up, so we could have more accurate tracking. I already have an account, so I'm going to click over here, log in. All right, so here is your unique Lagoon Loyal member dashboard. It's custom catered to you. Over here is an account snapshot, your name, et cetera, and your points overview. So how many actions you've completed for points shows up right here, a pending area for those actions that require MTN's approval, a history section so you can see what you've completed and your rewards. And this feature here, it's community-wide efforts. So it shows how many Lagoon Loyal participants we have so far since our July 1 launch, which is 61, and they've completed 38 different actions. So it just shows that you're part of a bigger community effort and your neighbors are involved in this. So this is tied to each user and populates with each action that's completed. Over here is a quick link to earn points for Lagoon Loyal actions. We've pinned the attend the next Lagoon event here, and I'll let Jessica go over that after I'm done with this walkthrough. Some quick actions that you can complete for points. I'll go into that in a second. And then a teaser of the rewards center. So you can view all, you can sort by category. And every time you refresh the page or log in, the coupons will refresh, so there's always something different and enticing. So let's go to earn, up here is a quick link to your dashboard, your points, and your cards, so for easy navigation. Let's go check out all these Lagoon Loyal actions you can complete for points. So most of them are related to each one of our topics. For example, locate your septic tank and drain field, upload a photo, show Florida-friendly landscaping buffer near your waterway. That's to prevent excess fertilizer going into the lagoon there, irrigation related. And then there's some community-based shares like referring a friend, liking us on Facebook, reading a lagoon-centric article for education. And so let's just complete one right now. Let's say that I've just scheduled a septic system inspection and I have a receipt. So on each one of these action pages, they're all very similar. It shows how each action helps our lagoon, has instructions on how to earn your points. This one requires a receipt of your septic system inspection. There's also share features, so you can share on your social channels. So let's do a little sample here. I'm going to select my files. I have a sample receipt I'm just going to upload very quickly so you can see how this works. I'm going to click submit and okay, upload complete. So I have 30 pending points right now. Since this is an action that requires a approval on MTN, these points will show as pending. This also deploys an email to the user and says your points are pending until we approve it. It deploys an email to MTN saying a user has completed an action that requires approval, and it takes less than 15 seconds for us to approve those actions. Once approved, the user gets another email. The pending points go to your total points, and voila, you have your points. If we look at the receipt or the image and it doesn't look to be something valid, we decline it, and it sends them a very friendly email saying, oops, try again, and then they're promoted to commit to other actions, so we don't lose them as a customer. So from here you can just earn more points or swap points for rewards. And I just want to show you here's where the pending occurs. So once that's approved, the 30 pending goes directly to your total points. So let's swap these points for rewards. Go to the dashboard and see. Just want to show you all of our business coupons here. You can select category here, or if you're interested in health and wellness, let's just get a CrossFit inclusion membership, 10% off monthly membership. Simple as adding to cart, just like any other rewards program or cart-based feature. I already had A1A Outdoor Center in my cart. So the unique thing about this is you can store your points and then redeem them on your own time when you're ready. So you don't have to make that direct, selection of a reward right away. So proceed to checkout and place order. All right. And once that is groovy, you've earned it. Thanks for being Lagoon Loyal. Visit My Rewards to access your official coupon. You also get an email recapping your order. So here are what official coupons look like. We have a a watermark protection, an issue to expiration date is 14 days from date redeemed, and a unique coupon ID. So no longer will you have to dig through your emails to show that coupon. You can go directly to your My Rewards and show the business at the time of visiting. And with that, I'm going to sign out and let Jessica take over and talk about the events feature. Yeah? Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Stop share.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen again. Hopefully it'll go a lot more smoothly this time for you all. I'm sharing full screen. All right, can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as Jamie mentioned, one of the actions that you can complete in exchange for points and rewards is to attend a Lagoon Loyal event. So essentially how it works is that as a Lagoon Loyal member, you just sign into your Lagoon Loyal account, and then you would, at the event, you would either, whether it's a virtual or an in-person event, you would scan the code. So whether it's on screen or on that little sign that you see here on the slide, and then once you scan the QR code, it'll take you to your Lagoon Loyal account, and you'll immediately earn points and have those logged in within your member dashboard. And so, excuse me, this is actually the first event that we've got points available for. So if you happen to be a Lagoon Loyal member right now, you can go ahead and scan this QR code that you see on the screen. However, if you're using your mobile device and you're not able to do it right now, or you need to still create your Lagoon Loyal account, we'll make arrangements to share this QR code PDF with you after the meeting, so you can be sure to claim your points for attending today. The next thing that I just want to go over is our plan to track performance and just really keep an eye on this, because honestly, we know that it's important to be able to see that the program is actually working and that people are responding and engaging with it and actually changing those behaviors as well. So we've got these 3 buckets that we've implemented at MTN to track goals and measurements as far as performance of the program goes. So in terms of educate, this educate piece right here, we plan to track the number of website visits and sessions as a form to validate that people are being educated. And in terms of obtaining commitments, we plan to track and monitor member registrations. For motivation, we plan to track actions completed, and we really see that as the most important one that we would want to keep a very close eye on, because that's essentially, like I said, evidence that the program is working and people are adopting it. And then lastly, the validate piece, we would monitor and track member coupon selection and redemption to get a good idea as far as what types of businesses people are more resonate or drawn to in terms of selecting a reward coupon within the program. So for post-launch promotional tactics, we have an extensive strategy put together that involves both digital and traditional media. It includes everything that I went over already with you on that previous slide, ad networks, social media posts and ads, Google Ads. We also have an extensive email marketing campaign that we will use to communicate with Lagoon Loyal members and businesses as well on a regular basis. As far as traditional media, we plan to use, billboards, bus wraps, the fertilizer signs that we've discussed earlier on the call this morning as well. So we're doing our best to make a large splash and really push this Let's Be Clear brand and concept of the program as broadly as we can. And then lastly, in closing, we would just like to invite you to like our Facebook page, Lagoon Loyal, facebook.com/Lagoon Loyal. And if you scroll to the top of the page, there's actually a pinned post. You'll see this graphic here on screen, and it links to the user registration page. By sharing this on your social media, this is the best way for you guys to help spread the word and help drive engagement with the program and just get the word out about this program. So if you have any questions, Jamie and I are happy to address them. I know we threw a lot of information at you guys, but we really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jessica and Jamie. That's a great point you made there. I've got some questions coming up here. First of all, Vinny, you have to unmute.
Yep, thank you. Jessica and Jamie, great job. MTN, great job. Two things. I love the inclusion of the community numbers, because I think it really makes it seem that it's more than just an individual thing. And that also adds like a competition element. Like, you know, I've brought this much to the table. How much have you brought? So I think that's a really good thing. So great job on that. Second thing is merchandising. Everyone loves the logo. The logo is beautiful. I think we need shirts, hats that say Lagoon Loyal. I've done this. What have you done? With the website address on it. I just think, you know, anything that we have to wear clothes, even in today's COVID times, we have to wear shirts. So I think some shirts, and David was wearing a hat earlier. So I think if we can get some merchandising out, that would really help. My final thing would be Virginia, just trying to make all our communications synergized. Can we put something about the septic to sewer conversion up on that website too? Maybe, you know, see if you are eligible for a septic to sewer conversion where they put their address in, because I think you're collecting their address anyways. And if it fell within those 1,600, maybe it could pop up and say, hey, lucky you. I don't know. It's just trying to take advantage of as many communication outlets as we have to try to drive the point home. But great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Charlie.
Yeah, hey, maybe just on one comment to Vinny, maybe we could go for tattoos if you don't want to wear a shirt.
I'm in, Charlie. Let's go.
Okay. But my question really was on the demographics and the age groups. So the 18 to 24 is pretty low participation, and you know, I really think we really need to get that age group involved, because they're the ones that are going to be doing this for their whole life. Or is there any thoughts of how to communicate and expand that group to be a bigger participant in the process?
Agreed. We definitely recognize that as a valuable age group as well. I'm so glad you brought that up. And also we've had conversations about this on our end at MTN as well. We see social media as a really strong way to reach out to that group specifically, particularly Instagram. We feel like that demographic and that age group seems to be very engaged in Instagram more so than Facebook. So as part of our strategy going forward and into the next fiscal year, we will be very focused on that group and leveraging social media to reach them as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Stephanie?
I agree with Vinny. I love the idea of putting something on there about the septic to sewer conversion. And maybe, hopefully, we can reach some people that we haven't reached other ways. And it would be easy and inexpensive.
Okay.
And the other question that I had, if in fact we don't get a great response on the 1,600, is there any thought about extending it to other parts of the county that are not within that initial group close to the lagoon, so that we at least get the benefit of the money that's available?
I'm so glad you asked that. So as staff, we've been tossing around the idea of maybe coming up with a prorated cost share basis. So those 1625 were our highest priority sites, and we were going to fully fund them. Then the next, medium priority sites wouldn't provide the same benefit. But if we provided 75% cost share or 50% cost share or some sort of, prorated cost share, the lagoon would still be getting the benefit. We'd still be encouraging people to do that. So if that's something the committee likes, then that's something we will work on bringing back to you for the 2021 plan update.
Okay, Courtney?
Thank you. I was wondering, and I'm sorry if I missed this, if it was in the presentation, but to grow the membership, is there any incentive or rewards for people who bring in more members? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, we've talked about having a refer a friend function and action folded into the program as well. We definitely agree. We think members should be rewarded for recruitment as well. So absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that it for questions? Okay, thanks guys, that was really good. Appreciate it. Next up on the agenda, we have the My Lagoon story videos. I guess is that Brandon's going to take that over, or who?
Yeah, so we have SCG TV is going to be driving the videos, but we did several of the My Lagoon story videos. We're going to show at least 2 of them here, and then we have one project video to show as well. And so we'll start off with Laura Lee.
I think I'm one of the luckiest people in the world because I grew up on the Indian River Lagoon. I've been here all my life. So we're standing here at the Titusville Fishing Pier. This is literally where I grew up. My grandfather ran the Titusville Fishing Pier. He had a bait house and he rented fishing poles and nets and lights to the people that came here to go shrimping. Most of my early childhood memories are focused in this area right here. I am so proud of the citizens of Brevard County for voting to tax themselves to fix the lagoon, because the lagoon is absolutely our #1 asset here in the county. It's recreational, it's economic, $7.2 billion a year income from the Indian River Lagoon. We need to fix it. And I think Brevard County is so progressive in the fact that we did vote to tax ourselves. And so one of the fastest ways to fix the river, or feel like I was doing something to help, because I felt so helpless about what has happened to the lagoon, watching its decline. So getting myself on this committee was one of the best ways that I felt like I could help. I think the biggest challenge is educating people and trying to tell them what the river was like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, before the pollution and neglect took its toll. And I have hope. I'm on the lagoon all the time, almost every day. I see that it's getting better. There's signs that the river's coming back. So we cannot let up. We need more public education, more people to be aware, more people to do things to try to help the lagoon, because every little action helps. And so even though it's looking better now, more can be done.
All right, and then next up we have a video from Todd for his lagoon story.
We moved to the area in late 2014, but I've lived in Florida all my life. It's more of a Florida memory that has always been about water and living near water. I grew up on Lake Okeechobee. For me, living near the lagoon has been that my wife and son and I have the opportunity to go out and kayak, taking advantage of all the wildlife and nature. And probably our best memory is being out on the kayaks in the Thousand Islands and seeing the gorgeous sunsets in the evenings. I work in water, I work in utilities. That's also very much aligned with serving the community. So one of the most important things for me is to be able to give back and to be able to contribute to something that's clearly as important as the lagoon is to our community. The challenges we have didn't happen overnight. We know that this is a place people love to live. There's going to be more people move in. And so it's something that we have to make sure that we're aligned. We realize that this is a forever activity. We've got to work on protecting our natural resources, not just today, not just tomorrow, but on through our kids and grandkids if we want it to both clean up, but then stay clean as well. I think we're making great progress. We're starting to see more and more projects coming from the different governments that are around the area, and so we're seeing that groundswell of support. That's also the most important thing, that this isn't about government activity, it's about all of us. We're continuing to see more and more people engaged, more and more people interested, and if we can get that sustained, that's where we'll truly be successful. The only thing that I would add is to speak to really every citizen of Brevard is continue to express your interest. Take actions at your own homes, with your yards, with the things that you can do to contribute, but also make sure that your voices are heard, that we know and that the elected officials know as well how important this is to our citizens so that we can sustain both the work that we've got going on right now, but as I mentioned earlier, the work that we need to continue to do for decades afterwards.
All right, and then we recently completed one of the stormwater projects, the Broadway Pond up in the Port St. John area, and we have some video of that we'll show.
Hey, Logan, before you hit go, would the videos play smoother if you gave them a few minutes to load? I don't know why they're breaking up so much.
My experience, Virginia, is I'm not sure if Logan is the one that is also recording the video, but the person that records the video, if they play it, that it sometimes breaks up. But I don't know if that's the situation this time.
Well, when I was viewing them, they were beautiful and smooth, and it's something to do with what we had to do this morning to share them with you, with the committee.
There is an option that says optimize for video. You have to check that when you go to share.
So currently we are at the Cocoa Beach Water Reclamation Facility. We are currently undergoing a construction project. It's a $6.6 million upgrade project. So this water reclamation facility treats the wastewater throughout the entire city of Cocoa Beach, parts of unincorporated Brevard County, and we also treat the sewage coming from Port Canaveral and Patrick Air Force Base. So as the water is collected throughout the city, it comes into this treatment facility. We are an AWT, Advanced Waste Treatment process here. We have very strict limits on the nutrients that we have to meet. So as it's going through the treatment process, it's going through all the various tanks and stages of the facility, and then it gets filtered through this new cloth media system, and then it's turned into reclaimed water. So one of the biggest parts of this upgrade project is the filtration system. We're converting sand media filtration into a cloth media filtration. It's a 5-micron cloth, so not a lot of particulates can get through this cloth, which will make the water cleaner on the backside as we distribute it for reclaimed water. Another major component of our project are the Rotary drum thickeners. These new thickeners will clean up our filtrate water. We won't release as much nutrients to the head of the plant, which means we won't have to treat as many nutrients. This filter will be better for the lagoon because more water will be able to flow through the filter as opposed to our old sand filtration. When we get periods of wet weather and high rainfall during a storm, we can only treat about 6 million to 10 million gallons per day. This new cloth media filtration technology, we're able to treat 10 to 20 million gallons per day. So we're doubling the capacity that we're treating. So we won't have to discharge to the river as much. The less amount of water that we can contribute to the river, the healthier it'll get. The IRL is a major component of this county, especially the Banana River, which is the city's western border. By reducing the nutrient limits into the river, it'll drastically improve the lagoon quality. It's important for the wildlife, the ecosystem, to protect the lagoon and the components that come out with it, the fisheries, the water activities, just the leisure services of kayaking and beautifying everything. Doing our small part to help the lagoon is one of the best things that I can say I do working for the city of Cocoa Beach.
So that wasn't the Broadway Pond video, but that's all right. It's one of our other projects too that is currently still underway, but they're doing the upgrades at the Cocoa Beach wastewater reclamation facility. And we have a little time before Senator Mayfield's time certain anyway, so it's okay to show that. But Logan, can we get the Broadway Pond video next, please?
Sorry, what was that titled?
Broadway BAM, I believe. Let's see. It was BCNR Broadway Pond BAM project.
Okay, I got it.
All right, thanks.
county, we've been using stormwater ponds extensively since the 1990s to help remove nitrogen and phosphorus from our runoff. Unfortunately, these ponds can only remove up to about 40% of the excess nutrients that flow into them. Save Our Indian River Lagoon program has been incorporating new technologies like this BAM project to help increase the amount of nutrients that we're removing from our ponds and other stormwater treatment areas. When we add in additional projects that are in the plan, like our baffle boxes and our floating vegetative islands, we can create an effective treatment train that greatly reduces the amount of nutrients in our runoff that can feed algal blooms in the lagoon.
Currently in Brevard, we have about 25 stormwater projects underway with a contract for design and/or construction, and the majority of those are water quality projects.
Utilizing a lot of different types of techniques. What we focused on in most of these projects have been bioabsorption activated media, or BAM. There are a multitude of different types, and they can be engineered specifically for the type of pollutants that you're targeting. In the case of these projects, we're trying to be very cost effective and produce our own BAM. For most of them, it's been a mixture of mulch and clean sand, and that creates that environment for that biology to occur and that physical activity to occur.
What we do is we envelope it in this filter fabric to keep the dirt and what have you, is what we don't want getting into our BAM. And we want the water to travel slowly through it for bioabsorption. We're looking at knocking out the nitrogen and the phosphorus. As the water migrates to the lagoon through this material, we're getting some clean water going into the lagoon. We're attacking not only stormwater, we're attacking the groundwater as well, which is very important.
I've seen the degradation of the lagoon and seen what has happened over my lifetime. You know, my hope is with these projects that we're involved with that we can reverse a lot of that and hopefully return the lagoon to its, original condition.
All right. Thank you. Virginia, do we want to move on to the other items, or did you want to try to kill a little more time for Senator Mayfield?
Virginia, you're on mute.
I think we should move to the other items, and we can come back to videos if we have excess time.
All right.
Okay, thanks for all those great videos.
We'll be putting those out on social media and on our YouTube page, and then there'll be links to them on the Save Our Lagoon website as well.
Thanks, Brandon. Okay, I don't see any old business on the agenda, so let's move to new business and the annual update plan schedule. Virginia?
Right. Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen again. All right, can you see that?
Yes.
Item? Good. So it's hard to believe, but it's time to start the process for the new plan update all over again for 2021. And so one of the first steps is to look at examining the updated information and coming up with a new cost share and working with the community to accept new project proposals. And so this agenda item is setting up the schedule for how all of that would occur. And so trying to, look at the schedule of meetings and when we're going to be busy with meeting prep and other items and allowing time for us to receive the applications, review those applications, work with the community on any revisions that we need to make them compliant with the intent of the plan, and then get them to you as the committee with time to review them before your meeting. So what we have here is getting the new applications posted by the end of this month and sharing that. They will be online again. There's actually very few changes proposed from last year to this year. The same online format. We would just be adding a form for harvesting projects, which came up last year, and we know there's continued interest in that. And so we didn't have a specific form ready last year. We did that on the fly for those interested parties. And so we want to get that posted this year. And then the dollar amounts will update. But otherwise, the application process will be the same as last year. So due to the lack of changes in the process, plus cost share, plus COVID, we think we don't need to hold a stakeholder workshop in person this year. Certainly staff will be available to anybody, any community organization or member with questions about the application process. We already anticipate working closely with the Melbourne-Tillman Water Control District on a substantial harvesting application that we've already had a couple conversations with them about that pending application. And so if we get this posted by July 31st, give people a full 2 months to get their applications in, due on October 1st. And then staff would have a little over 3 weeks to review those and get the packet ready and sent to the committee. Then the committee would have 4 weeks to review the submitted projects prior to the meeting on November 20th. If the committee, like this last year, can get through all of those submittals and make a decision on a recommendation during that November meeting, there's potential to cancel the December meeting and not interfere with the holidays. If this is a more complicated year because all of the dollars are already allocated, and so if you want to fund new projects this year, we're going to have to unfund some of the less cost-effective projects that are already in the approved plan. So if that discussion requires more than one month, I think we want to keep that December meeting on the schedule, but there's the potential to cancel it. And then we would take your recommendation and incorporate that into a new project plan draft that we would get to you before Christmas, ideally. If the decisions are made, if that December meeting is canceled and we have your decisions early enough, then we would get you the plan update before Christmas, so that you would have Christmas and New Year's to review it before your January 15th meeting. And then the plan has to be posted, your recommendation has to be posted for 15 days for public review prior to it going to the county commission. So it would go to the county commission's first or second meeting in March. Their schedule for 2021 isn't posted yet, so I'm not sure whether their meeting will be on Tuesday the 9th or Tuesday the 16th, but that's the time frame that would work. So that's a proposed schedule for you all to discuss. And since this is an item that you vote on, I'll just remind the chair that you also need to take public comment.
Thanks for that reminder, Virginia. Stephanie's got a question.
Virginia, given the fact that we are coming in at less of a budget than we thought we were going to, what do you think is going to be the possibility of having new projects that we're going to be able to fund without removing old projects?
One of the other things that the committee has asked us to do that is ongoing, we've sent letters out to the folks that requested projects in years past that haven't been moving forward. asking them to give us a go, no go decision. We were planning to bring that back to you at your next meeting. So that is one way that some dollars may be freed up. Obviously, grants could also be a way to make that happen. We'll see how our revenues come, but I think it's unlikely that you will be able to fund everything that comes in without making some cuts.
Okay, anybody else with questions? Okay, I don't see any, so let's do this. Wait a minute, somebody's saying they have a question. Jay, you didn't raise your hand if you're asking a question.
I'm raising my hand on the video.
Okay, I can't see you because I've got Virginia. Anyway, go ahead.
Sorry. Anyway, is there, I mean, I know in the past where people have discontinued or decided they weren't going to proceed with the project and have withdrawn it or whatever, that those have been defunded. But is there any precedent for defunding or revoking a project that has already been approved and in which the entity doing that project wants to go ahead?
No, there's not a precedent for that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, is that it, Jay?
That's it. Thank you, John.
Did anybody else have questions? I don't see any other hands. Okay, so at this point, I need to get public comment. And I wonder, is Anthony, are you available to read that statement about public comment?
Yes.
Thank you.
It is now time for public comment on agenda item 8A. All attendees are muted and must be unmuted to be heard. Members of the public who wish to give public comment must indicate their desire to speak by using the Zoom raise hand tool. For those participating via computer, attendees will see the raise hand tool at the bottom of their screen, and the participants will need to select the participant's icon at the bottom of the screen. The raised hand tool is an icon at the bottom of the participant's window. For those participants via phone, dial *9. The meeting host will see a list of everyone who wants to speak and will unmute speakers one at a time. Your name will be called on when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and residence. You will have 3 minutes. A timer will sound at the end of your allotted time. If no committee members have clarifying questions for you to answer, the next speaker will be called and unmuted for the 3-minute window.
Thank you, Anthony. I've got the attendee list up and I don't see any hands raised. Going once, going twice, sold. Okay, I don't think anybody from the public wants to comment on this. Is that sufficient time legally to move on? I think so. Okay, so we're back to the main meeting here, and I need to get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. This is Lorraine.
Okay, Lorraine makes a motion to approve. Stephanie,
yes, I second.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, can I see or can I hear anybody who's opposed to the motion? So opposition only, raise your hand. I see no opposition, so the motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we're ready then to go on to the next item, which is 8B, funding request cost share. Virginia?
Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. You can see that. All right, so each year we look at the cost of the average cost of each different project type in the plan to date, and based on that, offer those dollar amounts for future projects. So the table is straight out of the 2020 plan. on what the average costs are, with the exception of paying up to $1,500 per pound for septic sewer projects, which is consistent, reflects the Board of County Commissioners' direction to support those sorts of projects up to the $1,500 per pound amount. And then also per prior years, stormwater projects, instead of paying the average amount countywide, we looked at what is the cost for mainland, Merritt Island, and the beaches based on different land and construction costs at those locations. So that's in that bullet of the $122 for the mainland, $163 per pound on Merritt Island, and $150 per pound on the beaches.
Okay. Any questions from anybody? I don't see any questions. Jay, are you asking?
Jay's waving his hand.
I'm waving my hand. The $1,500 per pound of nitrogen. I mean, I know that this seems to be the county commission's pet thing here. I'm trying to figure out how Virginia, this interacts with, or could interact with the new legislative approval of funds, other funding sources that may appear. I mean, if I'm a municipality or whatever, and I want to extend my sewer, I'm going to sort of automatically ask for the $1,500 a pound cost sharing. Do we have some mechanism for double checking those requests to see whether they may have other funding sources that could bring that cost sharing amount down? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, maybe we don't need to give them $1,500 a pound. Maybe we can give them $1,200 a pound.
We don't know about their local budget, but we do know about the grant programs that are available to all of us competitively. And we ask them in their application and then confirm that in their contract to provide any of those grants that they have sought, and show us those dollars so that the lagoon cost is reduced if grant dollars are available to offset some of those costs. So if they go after the grant and secure the grant, it would offset their matching funds first. If we, the county, go after the grant and put it towards their project, which we have done not on septic sewer projects, but on some baffle box projects, then it would come off of the lagoon cost share amount.
I guess I was aiming a little bit more at the motivation aspect of it. In other words, sure, if they've sought the grants, they're going to disclose that. We're going to know about it. But are we just depending on their goodwill, I guess you might say, to be motivated to go out and seek grants and other types of funding, including even, imposition of taxes, for lack of a better word, on their local residents to achieve, to possibly achieve some additional funding?
I don't know how we would incentivize that. I mean, the situation now is that there are multiple projects approved in the 2020 plan at the $1,500 per pound cost share. And so if communities came in requesting $1,400 a pound, I would think the committee would, do some weighing advantages, disadvantages, and say, maybe that community's $1,400 a pound project is better than the most expensive $1,500 a pound project that's in the plan. And so there's that economic incentive. for them to ask for less and then go seek other dollars to make up the difference.
Which comes back to my earlier question about rescinding projects that were previously approved. So, but anyway, good point. Okay, well, I was just, with our expected very limited amount of dollars being available for new projects, I'm trying to figure out, ways to maybe enhance that situation. But anyway, it's going to be tough, but we'll see.
If you think of anything, let us know.
Okay, Jay, I got lots of other folks with their hands up. So, David?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to go to Jay's point. For anybody that hasn't really taken a good look at this chart here, I'm drawn to the the muck removal numbers, at $98 a pound. What I would like to see, and it seems to me to be fair to ask, if the county wants more funds for septic and sewer conversions and upgrades, what would be our thoughts on indexing that to their current grant generation and service fees? And by that I mean, if they can source funds from somewhere else, we could match it with an increase in funds availability, from our account. I don't think any of us are a fan of being kind of a rescue piggy bank for what I feel is the county's unwillingness to even address current service fee revenues. So if they're asking us to give them more money, basically, why can't we ask them to match our effort in either grant generation or increasing sewer fees? So it could be as simple as, I like the index idea, right? So if they can increase fees or at least bring it to the table a certain percentage, then we could match that percentage or whatever the ratios might be to ask the whole all of the stakeholders to put fair skin in the game, as it were.
Okay, I'm not sure that Virginia can handle that as a question, so I'm going to jump in there. I think right now we need to think about moving this forward. We've got some things we have to get done, and the ideas that are coming up sound like an awful lot of background work and some other things to do. Clearly, if projects come in at a lower cost per pound, we have the ability to recommend those projects. And I think that, rather than getting into a big fight over $1,500 versus $1,173 a pound for nitrogen, I think what we need to do is move this process along so we can get those proposals in and take a look at those proposals and encourage people to submit proposals that are going to be a more effective use of the dollars.
Well, I don't disagree.
I got the chair, and so I get to mute you if I choose. And I'm choosing to do that now because I've got 3 other people who want to talk, and then David, you can come back on later. Okay? So Terry, unmute yourself.
Yeah, Virginia. So help me out here. I'm looking at the updated table. We're quibbling over the $1,500, but I'm looking at stormwater projects. The table still shows 173, which is a higher number than any of the 3 numbers that are the prorated, geocentric numbers, 122, 163, 150. How does the average of that come out to be 173?
That is an excellent question. So last year's number was 127. And so I know that all of these, the mainland, Merritt Island, and beaches rates went up because I compared them. So maybe the 173 is a typo. I'll double check that, but
yeah, I mean, just on the face of it, it's got to be right. Wrong. I remember the discussion when we went through the rationale for having geocentric differences in the numbers.
Yes.
But just looking at, three numbers averaged together, coming up with a higher number is just take that under advisement.
Okay, Charlie?
Yeah, I think you should look at this chart from a percentage standpoint. And the septic removal is about 25% of the budget, yet we're only achieving 7% nitrogen reduction. So, and I know we've talked about this, and it's a reduction, and we have to do the septic system removal. I'm not saying we have to. It's just that the people who get this benefit are people whose properties are close to the lagoon, which usually correlates with, expensive properties and people who could probably afford to put some skin in the game. So I just wanted to put that out there because I've always seen this disparity and that it's not the best use of the money.
Okay, Todd? Todd, did you want to say something? You had your hand
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think this is a pretty complex topic with the septic to sewer because if you recall when we went back to the discussion of that we put more money in there, part of this is just about, making sure that people are engaged across all of these different improvement areas. Because if it truly came down to dollars per pound of nitrogen, then we'd just pick the cheapest one and do that one. But there's a lot of thought that's been put into more well-rounded and comprehensive solutions. And I do think that with where people's minds are at and the focus on sewer-related issues, that including septic to sewer still does make sense, and even at these dollar figures. But just to address a couple of the other comments, from a utility perspective, this isn't a utility rate thing. Utilities don't, and in many cases are prohibited by bonds to paying for septic to sewer conversions. This is more of a county government issue rather than a utility issue, because utilities are there to provide service when people want it, and the county governments set the requirements on who has to connect to sewer. If we want more people to connect, then that becomes a political will discussion of mandating those connections. And I do agree with Charlie's comment that in an ideal world where those that are able to pay are paying at least a portion of that, but there's these types of projects across the state are notorious for not making it across the finish line when there's a choice. And so it does get very complex, but I still support us even at the $1,500, including these, because of the importance of connecting with the public. But I think it's very prudent to think about alternative ways to continue to push those projects forward. That does include grant funding as well as perhaps requirements for people in certain areas to connect.
Okay, Courtney?
Yeah, I just wanted to also say, I think we do need to move this forward. I know that it is somewhat frustrating because we see the data and, we know what's probably the most cost-effective way to move forward. But I also want to echo some of the members' comments that, it would be good to see the county commission also look at limiting new septic tanks coming in, as well as, really looking at mandating connections and really trying to take care of this on the front end instead of having us take care of it, with the lagoon tax later. Because I think that we should be looking at that as a statewide issue as well as a countywide issue. But it would be good for us to, try to push that topic in the future, because we're not going to have this tax forever, and we're not going to have a way to get them out later if we can't focus on stopping new ones from coming in. Just to give you an example too, some of the problems with even areas that we think are connected in Satellite Beach, we have we were called by a business. My mayor was called by a business that said, "Hey, is there any way you can help us connect to sewer? Because we've emptied our septic tank twice." And we're like, "But we took out all of the private septic tanks. We have, sewer throughout our whole city." But it come to find out that there's plenty of areas, even homes, that have been paying sewer bills for, 50 years and have never realized they had a septic tank in the ground that wasn't hooked up to sewer. And this business is one of them. So, I'll be talking to Virginia later about how to connect them together, to get that taken care of. But, even mandating, a sewer pipe, TVing, things like that, so we can start making sure that people are even connected like they're supposed to be, would be a good start. So, but I do think this needs to move forward. We've gotten down this path already, and we really need to get started on getting some more applications in and create that process. So I'm supportive of this document as it is.
Okay, before I go on with other comments, Virginia, do you know if Senator Mayfield's waiting for us, or?
Yes, she's on the line.
Should I put a halt on this discussion for now and let her go, or should I just continue on with these? I've got quite a few hands.
I don't know how tight her schedule is, so I think it would be good to go switch to her now.
Okay, so I'm going to put everybody on hold for just a minute on this issue and ask Senator Mayfield to join us. And how do I know where she is?
I believe that she's the phone number.
Okay.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. We've got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, listen, if you guys want to continue this discussion, it's right in line with what my stuff is, and I'd love to hear it. And I have time. I just don't want to run out of time on whatever your deadline is for ending your meeting.
We will not run out of time for our deadline. Our deadlines go on for a long time. So
okay, well, you guys continue. You're on a roll on this, and I'm really interested in the septic to sewer because I couldn't agree with Courtney more. I mean, when we're investing in these sewer lines, residents should be connecting, and we need to give them a time frame to do it, and we need to let them know that it's available. I'm finding out that a lot of people, some people don't even know it's available for them to do or how they go about doing it. So if you guys want to continue on, and when you get at the end of this topic, then I can jump in.
Thank you, Senator. I'm going to jump back to David Lane, who had his hand up again for a long time now. So, David, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. It was actually up from my previous question. I don't know if I was supposed to take it down or not, but I have this fear that next year we're going to be looking at $2,000 a pound and $2,500 a pound. And I don't know, I don't fully understand the rationale at 1,500. And I don't see any reason why the county won't come back with 2,000 next year. And maybe there isn't an end to it. Maybe there's no dollar value that's too much. But it concerns me that this is going to be a never-ending issue, and it's more of a comment than a question, I suppose, but that's a concern I have going forward with this.
Okay, thank you. Courtney, did you want to speak again, or was that the old hand?
No, that's the old hand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Vinny?
Yes, thank you, John. A few things. First off, David, we all looked at that number when we decided about setting it forward, and I don't think there's anybody on the committee that felt 100% okay with it. But I don't think the numbers will be able to go up unless somebody has an order change or an increase that they come to us with, because we have the project and the plan for the set amount. But I do think, like Dr. Windsor said, not only do we have the option to replace projects with cheaper ones, we have the obligation. We are the oversight committee that should be helping the citizens get the most bang for our dollar. And I think this process that we're about to start again is part of it. People will come to us with projects, and if there are projects that are cheaper than that 1,500, then we swap them in. And so I think all our concerns are great. And I think as this process plays out this year, we'll be able to see if we can tighten down some of those numbers and make them be a little bit more, appetizing. I don't know, for lack of a better word. Two other things too. So Courtney mentioned something that happened to my parents. They've been paying sewer bills for 30 some years, and they had a septic tank. And so and I think, and Virginia, I might need your help on this. There is a mandate by the county that says if you have access to sewer, I think you have 6 months or a year, 2 years or something where you have to connect. And so what the county told us when we asked them why have we been paying sewer bills, or why my parents have been paying sewer bills for 30 years when they've had a septic tank, is they said starting 30 years ago, that line was available. And so that was what the county did. They started charging them when they were supposed to connect. So I guess two questions, Virginia. There is a mandate, right, by the county that says
there is a state mandate. If you are adjacent to a gravity sewer line, you have 365 days to sign up. And what a number of the communities did, I'm not aware of the county doing it, but I am aware of multiple cities doing exactly what you described. Is they said, here's the deadline, and if you don't hook up by that deadline, we are going to start charging you a sewer fee anyway. And now the house is, sold multiple times, and the new owners have no idea that the home was never connected.
Yeah, and so that's what happened. So they didn't know, and they just kept paying it. But so I guess that's a gravity feed one is, I guess, the difference. So maybe, I don't know, maybe at some point if it's the committee's purview, and I don't know if we're charged to do it, but maybe making us aware or educating us on the current state mandate. As far as then individually, if we would like to go approach our legislators or whatever about changing the mandate to see if there's a way to tighten it up from gravity to non-gravity. But I know there's additional costs in that. So I just wanted to add that to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny. Lorraine?
Hey, yeah, first of all, a question occurred. Weren't the projects that were in the original plan, wasn't that a part of what all the citizens voted on? And in terms of us going back and changing those projects, doesn't that pose an issue? That's one question. I have one other point.
So yes, there was an original plan in place, posted, advertised for public review prior to the vote on the ballot. But that plan and the ordinance allow for annual updates, because obviously we're going to have new technologies and new opportunities come along. And so there was that flexibility built into the process. And so these $1,500 a pound projects that are, I think, the majority of the conversation right now, those were not in that original plan. Those have been additions. And so what you're talking about is taking out some of those additions and replacing them with more cost-effective projects.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to comment on, and thank Todd for his remarks about the position that utilities are in, but also to say that, as an elected representative, I can't tell you how hard it is facing this vote that we have coming up to have people make it mandatory for people to hook up, where they have the gravity sewer. We're looking at a population 30% of which lives below the poverty line, and these hookups are running 10 to 20,000. So it's very difficult, and any incentives that are there or assistance that are there are sorely needed.
Okay.
So that's the only point I wanted to make.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Yes, I just wanted to speak to Vinny's comment that we have the ability to be able to change the plan. And the reality is that we have the ability to be able to make recommendations. But the county commission ultimately is going to make that decision. And so just because we make a recommendation doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually going to go through. And I think you have to consider that as well.
Okay, thank you. And Courtney, did you have another comment, or was that an old hand?
No, I have a new one.
Okay.
I just wanted to address what Vinny was talking about with the sewer utilities, just going ahead and charging after the time frame people had to hook up, and that without an inspection to make sure they hooked up was a huge mistake. And I think if we still have that process in place now, we need to immediately address that, because what's happening is there's so many people out there that literally just do not care. They don't understand how important a septic tank is. They don't understand that not hooking up to it is devastating to the environment and could possibly back up into their house. The fact that it costs them so much money to hook up as an impact fee, that makes them not care more. So they're going to accept those fees and never hook up. And that's what many people have done. And I think the fact that we don't even know, because of the way we bill with no inspections, we require no inspections for plumbing systems at the time of sale. We have no idea how many septic tanks are truly out there that are just never being taken care of, haven't backed up yet into people's homes. So they are just letting them go. And those septic tanks can go 30, 40 years without backing into your house. It's usually when it starts flooding up, So what I think that issue brought up a very complicated problem that, we probably need to put our heads together and attack sooner or later, because that is a problem it's an unknown problem right now that we have no idea.
Okay. Vinny, did you want to?
I just wanted to comment on Courtney. I brought it up to the county because I said, wait, first off, we noticed we were being charged and we had the septic, so we didn't understand that. And when they brought up and said, oh, it's because of the time frame, we said, well, but how come no one came out? No one sent anything, nothing. You just and you already pay a water bill. So all that happens is a charge gets added to it. You don't know any better. And so what better time to educate somebody than right then saying, hey, you're being charged for this. Why don't you go ahead and do it? So, yeah, we brought that up because to me, it just felt like something was disconnected. No pun intended.
Okay. And Todd?
Yeah, just to add, I think there's actually a really good opportunity here as well for identifying where these exist. And it's great that we have Senator Mayfield on as well, because in the water quality bill that was just passed are obligations of utilities to do asset management work, which also in most cases will include gravity inspections and CCTV work in their infrastructure. And through those processes, it's very doable to identify, where laterals exist and whether anyone's connected to those or not. So I think there is absolutely a role for utilities to play in helping identify where some of these issues exist. And then there's a role for the county or city or municipal governments to play in, what those connection requirements are for and how to make that mandatory, and I do understand Lorraine's comments too. It's very challenging, and both state funding really helps that, and again, utilities can play roles with helping with payment options. For instance, my utility, any new connection, we allow them to pay a residential connection, allow them to pay that connection fee over a 20-year period, and that really helps. And so that just dampens out that big impact because it is a lot of money for lower income families. So there's a lot of options out there that I think can help really move this forward.
Okay, thanks, Todd. I think we're going to move now to public comment. And Anthony, would you mind, or do you think we need to reread that statement again, Virginia, or are we okay with we read it before item 8A?
If we want to see if any attendees put their hand up, do any of them want to speak? We don't need to read it.
Any attendees that are out there, raise your hands if you want to talk. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody on the list. Still not seeing anybody. 3, 2, 1, gone. Okay. So I'm back now. I need a motion for this agenda item 8B, funding request cost share.
I move to approve the cost share table as presented for 8B.
That's Vinny who's making that recommendation. Yes. Second.
I'll second.
And Lorraine second. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. No other. Virginia, did you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say the question about the 173 from Terry. It's because that includes more expensive stormwater projects like baffle boxes and things, whereas the cost share offered is based on the least expensive stormwater project type, principally the bioactivated media projects.
Okay, thanks for that explanation. All right, no other discussion items? No other discussion there. All those who are opposed to the motion, please either raise your hand or shout out.
I oppose.
David opposes. Okay, anybody else opposed? Okay, then the motion passes. I guess that's 6-1.
Stephanie opposed.
I didn't see Stephanie. Stephanie?
I oppose as well.
Okay, 5-2. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. All right, before we go to general public comment, let's turn this over to Senator Mayfield. And Virginia, did you want to introduce Senator Mayfield to the group, or do we just want to turn it over to her?
I would love to introduce her. I did not prepare for that, but we enjoyed working with her on Senate Bill 712 and many other items, and I'm just so pleased that she could join the committee today and talk to us. So.
Good morning, guys. Hey, great discussion. And at first, I thought what I would do is just talk a little bit about this Senate Bill 712. You know, that was a very, very long process to get where we finally ended up on that bill. And because there was so many entities that were going to be involved in it, that was part of the challenge in getting it through the House and the Senate. And remember, this passed unanimously on the House and the Senate. And it hit every area. It hit septic systems. It hit the stormwater management systems. It hit wastewater treatment facilities. It hit the agricultural community with the BMPs. It hit biosolids. We doubled fines and penalties for wastewater violations. And we did water quality monitoring in certain areas required by DEP on real-time monitoring. And the big deal, too, was the fact that there's a reporting requirements back to the legislature on the items that were reporting items within the bill, which one of it was the management and facility plan for the wastewater treatment facilities. So it hit a lot of areas. But without going into detail, and I'll be happy, we have some great highlights of each section of the bill. And Dr. Windsor, I'll be happy to get you a copy of this that I think is I've got it down to layman terms, which I can understand, so people can kind of see what everything was that we put into this bill. The other thing I wanted to touch on is the funding. And we all know funding is important. And we did a lot of funding for Brevard County and the Indian River Lagoon as a whole. And I wanted just to hit some of the highlights on that. You know, we were just talking about septic to sewer conversions, and I'm going to come back and hit on that a little bit more in a few minutes. But the Brevard County got $1 million in money for septic to sewer conversions. Indian Harbor Beach and Satellite Beach got the $1 million for their muck dredging. City of Melbourne got $380,000 for septic to sewer conversions, and Cape Canaveral wastewater treatment plant got $250,000 for improvements to their facility. And then Rockledge Biosolid Final Design got $150,000 for that. Now, in addition to that, there was $2.2 million that was to Brevard County for water quality. And on top of that, we were able to get $25 million into water quality projects for the Indian River Lagoon as a whole, which you guys know is Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, Brevard, and Volusia County. Now that money will be was given to our grant program. It wasn't money; it's a grant program for $25 million that St. John's Water Management District will have the oversight on, and with the DEP's involvement. Now, because Martin and St. Lucie County is part of South Florida Water Management District, St. John's and South Florida is going to work together on projects that are from those two counties. Although it will be St. John's will be the one that, that his and DEP is in charge of the money and how it's dispersed. So one thing I would encourage you guys to do as St. John's is writing what the grant proposals will be, that you put the emphasis on septic to sewer, if that's where you believe the emphasis should be for this grant money. But there's a lot of money that we are going to have to be able to be used for this. Now let's go back to septic to sewer. I can tell you firsthand what one of the problems is with getting conversion from septic to sewer. The problem is people don't know how to do it. And I can tell you that because we just went through it. And the citizens, they may or may not know that it's there. In our case, we didn't know it was there. I called to find out, and it was like, yeah, you can. You're right out front. And so we connected, but the Santoris that had lived there had never connected to it. Now, whether they knew or didn't know, I don't know, but we just went through the process of getting connected. And it's not an easy process, just from the standpoint, you don't know who the people are you need to contact to make it happen. That's the biggest challenge that we had in doing it. So going back to, to Courtney's statement is, and I do agree, and I think Todd's the one that said it too, people need to be aware that they are available to get connected, and then we need to tell them, here are grant programs that you can apply for to do it. And those grant programs should be prioritized based on the location of the property. And we know that within so many, miles or feet of the river, our waterways, you should be off a septic and onto sewer if it is available. So, I think, again, some of the challenges, people, not knowing it's there. Secondly, not require that they hook up within a certain time frame if they're not hooked up. And thirdly is let them know what the process is in order to do it, and then what grant programs are available in order for them to do it. So that's kind of, that's kind of the things that I wanted to touch on with you guys on what we did this past session and what is available out there for you guys. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have on 712 or on the funding that was that Brevard County and the state did for water quality.
Good. Thank you, Senator. Anybody have any questions for Senator Mayfield? Raise your hands. There's one. Vinny.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you again, Senator Mayfield, for working so hard on that and all the other water and quality improvements that we got. So that was it. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to thank you because I know you work hard on it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, it wasn't just me. It took a lot. If as I went through all the areas that we hit on, believe me, there were entities that had a strong voice in what we were trying to do and changing. And, there was some of their changes. We were like, there is no way we're not doing that. That is not what our vision was when we started this bill process. And then there was other ones. In order to get it through, we had to compromise. And we go, okay, we see your point. We'll do it. We'll get started this way, and then we're going to watch it. We're going to monitor it, and then we may have to come back next year and make some changes. But it wasn't, and I will, and I'll quite frankly, I'll be honest with you. It's somewhat disappointing when you have some of the citizens groups that we've worked so hard with on water quality for them to bash the bill because it didn't go far enough. Well, you know, maybe it didn't go as far as you wanted, but if we had tried to get it as far as you wanted, you wouldn't have anything. And it's a lot better than what we had. So, you know, that was kind of, you know, our message that we stayed on. It may not be perfect, but it's enough to get us started in a new direction and make sure the focus is on our water quality initiative. But it's you know, we had a lot of support from the counties and the cities, and I really greatly appreciate that too.
Got a question here from Courtney Barker. Courtney.
I just had a comment because I understand, like I've seen those comments too, Senator, go through with some of the community groups. And one of the things that some people just don't understand is how much compromise has to go through when getting a bill through, especially one that was unanimous on both sides of the House and, you know, and the Senate. So, you know, I don't think anybody knows how hard Senator Mayfield works. When you're in Tallahassee and you see her running up and down those halls, trying to get, you know, people to agree on this and that and get their support on, you know, on things. It's not easy. And, you know, to have a bill this broad and this big to get a unanimous support by both sides takes a lot of work, you know. So, you know, the cities and the counties were without a doubt in favor of all this because we know how hard it is to get compromise like that. And so we understand, and, you know, we're very supportive of you, Senator, and all of the work that you've done on this. It is a great start. You know, we have to have a start, and this is the perfect way to start. So, you know, we look forward to improving, you know, things as we learn, because we have to learn, you know, when we have a bill this big, you know, what works and what doesn't. And when we see the glitches, we come back the next year and say, hey, let's change this and let's change that. And, you know, it's a process, just like an ordinance is, but this is on such a greater level. So we appreciate the work you do, and, you know, thank you so much for everything you do for our community.
Thank you, Courtney.
And I got a question here from Terry Castro.
Good morning, Senator. And let me echo the comments about thanking you for all the hard work you put in on behalf of the environment. And I can hear the frustration in your voice. So what I would ask you is this, and I'll, at the risk of revealing some of my biases, looking forward, what's your perspective on let me say, big ag and biosolids, a couple of issues that, you know, are still out there, still driving us. And what can we do, this group of folks that are on this conference today, do to help you with that?
Thanks, Terry. Listen, on the biosolids, let's talk about that. I don't know if Brevard County still has their prohibition against biosolids in their county. I know Indian River still does. Part of this legislation extended that and said that, you know, you can put a moratorium on biosolids in your counties to stop that. The other thing that we did within the biosolids is, if you remember, the task force on biosolids came out with recommendations, and then DEP was having to write the rules to it. Well, we implemented what those recommendations were within this legislation, which means that they have to start abiding by that after July 1. And then in the process, DEP will still start having their public hearings on the biosolids. So that's going to be something that we're going to continue to look at, because biosolids is an issue. There is no doubt. And so we will continue that. The other is on the big ag. Let's talk about that, because one of the things that we did within this bill is required DACs to do an on-site inspection every 2 years and make sure that all the ag property is enrolled in the best management practices. So that was something that had not been done in the past. So part of what this inspection is it's supposed to tell them what are they using on their land, what is the runoff, do monitoring and give the results, and then they give that to DACs. DACs inspects, then DAX is sending that report to DEP. So you have you have DAX doing the inspections and gathering the data, and then you have DEP that's going to take that data and start a database and try to get some scientific information out of are the best management practices that we have in place working, and are the farmers using the best management practice? Now, if they're not using it, then shame on them, and DAC should be penalizing them for not using the best management practices. So at least we'll start gathering data. Now, some people didn't like the every 2 years. It's like, why aren't you doing it every year? Well, one is we just started the program, so you're going to overwhelm DEP with data that's going to sit there because they don't even have the process set up yet on how they're going to analyze it. So the thought was, let's start them out every other year that they get inspected. And then when they go inspect, they'll gather last year's information when they're out there inspecting for this year. So we've started in that process of let's just get, let's stop pointing fingers and accusing. Let's make sure we have the scientific data to back whatever it is that we're saying. And we believe this is one way of at least starting it and making sure. The key is going to be for DAX to make sure that these agricultural properties are on the best management practice plan. And so that is the first start on it.
Okay, we got a question from Charlie Venuto.
Yeah, and hi, Senator Mayfield. And I would also like to echo what many of us have already said about thanking you for shepherding this important legislation through the House and the Senate and getting it signed by Governor DeSantis. A component when we start looking at water quality is the conservation lands. And I know there was some positive movement in fully funding Amendment 1, but the expectations, I think, for the voters who overwhelmingly approved the amendment was to have it funded at a much higher level. And I was curious to see what your thoughts were and what it might take to get us to that level. And obviously with COVID-19, things have changed a lot from a budget perspective, but the need for conservation lands hasn't changed as a result of COVID-19.
Did we fund it all? Yeah. There's a balance here whenever we start talking about where we have to put our money. And if I'm not mistaken, in our Florida Forever, we did fund it at $100 million again this year, and that's what that conservation land, that's what that's supposed to be, that's what it's used for. So I think, we have a governor, and I know that, every 4 years we may get a different governor. We may have the same governor for 8 years, but we have a governor that the last 2 years since he's been in office, and the 2 years that I've been chair of Ag and Natural Resource and General Government, we did record funding in our Florida Forever program, and we did again this year with putting $100 million into the Florida Forever program. There's another program out there that's the Stan Mayfield Working Waterfront program that's also used for conservation, and that's working with small communities that have fish house. And I think we were able to get some money up here, if I'm not mistaken, Virginia, to help with the water quality and the conservation of land up there. So, and the other thing that we did was we completely funded the parks grant program for every county that had a application in for their FERDAC funding. We were able to fund that this year. So, you will see, that, and I can't imagine it being any different next year. It could be because of the COVID and other major issues that are going to be coming up. There's a lot of people out there that were unemployed. There's people that still haven't gone back to work. So, the priority may be different the next year, but I can't imagine us taking away from where we've started already on trying to clean our waterways and the conservation lands and continue with our Florida Forever program. Governor DeSantis has a passion for this, and I don't believe that he will just put this aside and not keep focused on this just because we have this COVID-19 out there. But it's going to be a balance. I mean, it's going to be a challenge. There's no doubt. The next 2 years is going to be a challenge for the legislature.
Okay, any other questions out there for Senator Mayfield? I don't see anybody raising their hands. So once again, thank you very much, Senator Mayfield. We really appreciate your update and all the work you're doing for us in Tallahassee. And please let us know if we can do anything to help you out.
Great. Thank you guys so much. And anytime you guys need anything, just give me a call and let me know. Our office is here to support you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we go to general public comment, I think, on the agenda. Yes. Okay, so I'm on the attendee list, and I don't see anybody with their hands raised. Anthony read the statement earlier about anybody who wanted to talk needed to go onto the attendee list and raise their hands. And so I'm still seeing no hands raised. No hands raised. Okay, bring it back to the panelists, and we go around for final comments. Anybody? I don't see anybody with final comments. Okay, so no final comments. I have no final comments. Virginia, do you have anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, well then, in that case, I'm going to call the meeting to a close at whatever time it is, 11:12. And thank you, everybody, for great participation today. See you soon.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, everybody.
Great job, everybody.
I thought John looked particularly cute today.
Yeah.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.